Right, today we're going to look at the alphabet, so we're going to learn the Teeline alphabet. The Teeline alphabet is actually based on the alphabet you already know, so it's not as hard as. If we take a look, if we look at the letter A in English, in Teeline it's just part of this A, so that's our ordinary Teeline A. Then we've got B, which is a nice curvy B. C is exactly the same. D is interesting. D is just a little line on the line. That's our A, B, C, D. Now E, again, if we take a look at the letter E, so those are our vowels, A and E, we use this part of the E, so that becomes our E. It's also good to notice that your A and E should be slightly smaller than your other letters. So A, B, C, D, E. Now F is our handwritten F. F can be written either upwards or downwards. It just depends on what it's going to be joined to. G is nice and easy because it's a nice curved G. H is just straight up and down. I, if we take a look again at how in the old days we wrote an I is simply a little tiny I. A, B, C, F, G, H, I. J, just a little J. K is a difficult one because it looks a little bit like the I, but notice how I is slightly smaller than the K and the angle's quite different. So it's just that point of the K. We have L. Now we can have a curvy form of L depending on what it's been joined to, and we have a straighter L. For example, if we had a look at LC, we wanted to join L and C together, we get a much better joining if we use a less curvy L. But if we wanted to join L and D together, we're better to use the curvy L so we can see the D. Otherwise it looks something like this, which is hard to read, and starts to look like a C anyway. M is our ordinary M. We simply take out the curves and that's our M. N is one of the hardest letters to learn in Teeline, but it's also one of the ones that we leave out later on when we blend our letters together. So for N, we just actually use the second half of the N. It also stands for the word and, so that helps us because we use it as a short form and it's easier to remember. Just make sure when you look at G and N that they're quite different, that the G cuts the line, same as the J, but the N rests on the line. Just the same as your English language letters. M, N, O, so we're back to a vowel, so O is just a little circle, but it's slightly smaller, A, E, I, O, slightly smaller than your other letters. Now H sits on the line, P cuts the line. So when we look at our ordinary H, we just use this part. When we look at the P, we just also use a straight line, but we make sure we've got half above and half below for P. Q is an interesting one because it's just a Q. It's the end of the Q again, N-O-P-Q. That's our handwritten R. For R in Teeline, we just have a straight upstroke. That also stands for the word R, which makes sense. So you're learning short forms at the same time as you're actually learning the alphabet. S is a little tiny circle. So we look at O, but when we look at the S, it's just a wee circle. And that's because this S, which is your ordinary S, actually stands for an SH later on. So the little s, if we wanted to put it inside an M, we go MS. It just sits inside nice and easily. Or we might go SM. So you would write it first or last, depending on how it fits in. T, if we look at T, we just take the top of the T. So you'll notice that D's on the line and T's on the line. D's on the line and T's above the line, so you know the difference between your T and D. U, back to a vowel again. Okay, U, that looks like our U, but that's actually Y in Teeline. So the little U is just without the tail on it. Q-R-S-T-U. V, it's a hard one to learn. W, we just take out the curves the same as we did with the M, so that gives us U-V-W. X is just a little X, and as I said before, that's a hard one to learn because that's actually your U, but it says Y. But we also use it for the short form your, so that helps a little bit. And Z, that's our Z, and that's our full stop. So So that's really just looking at the alphabet in its full form.